We're going to spend some time in this because it is both glorious and entertaining, and I'm hoping it's not my ego that's making that for me because it is so good. Thomas Massey is going to speak some words about D.C. that are pretty much a follow-on that we're just talking about. Dear, dear friends of convenience. He is coming into a room full of people and he's going to stink the place up, toss a stink bomb. Actually, he's tossing rhetorical fresh air. It's the sort of fresh air that we have in our studio, that I have in my home, that my friend has in his medical clinic, that listeners and viewers to the program have installed in their workplaces. In fact, I just got a note from another guy. This guy sells used cars, and he wrote me. His name is Mark. Dear Todd, my name is Mark. I sell used cars. Please don't think of me that way. We sell high-end vehicles, many of which have been in estate sales. These vehicles are fine cars and vehicles, and yet they've been stored away in garages and allowed to get musty. I heard you talk about the Eden Pure device, and I bought several of them for our shop. Now, when we get ready to floor a car, the last step we take is to run the Eden Pure device within the car. You're exactly right. Any smells from previous owners, musty time in garage is gone. And I've noticed that this lasts a long time. That must be the ozone, as you've talked about. I've turned to you for political advice. It's good to know I can turn to you for commercial advice like this as well. Would welcome you out to the shop one day when you're in the market for a new vehicle. Again, these are fine cars, including this one I think you'll love. And look at that. It's a 1964 Dodge. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. This device is not an air filter. An air filter can't do that to a classic car. An air filter is too loud to have in your business, particularly if you're a medical provider, like my friends are medical providers, and they put these in their businesses. If you have an Airbnb or a VRBO, you do not want your guests being confronted with the smells of the last guests. If you smoke, hey, please, Lord, please find a way to stop. If you haven't yet stopped, the Eden Pure Oxyleaf 2 in your home will negate the smell of cigarettes. It even negates viruses. How could it do that? Because it produces ozone, and those O3 molecules float through the air, and they bond to the molecules that create bad smells. They change their molecular structure. When they bond, let's go back to basic high school chemistry. Becomes a new molecule. What you end up smelling is a scent that's like the day after a thunderstorm. I'll save you $200 right now on 3 of these devices, whole home coverage, whole business coverage, or a whole bunch of classic cars. Go to EdenPureDeals.com, enter code TOD3, and you just save $200 on whole home coverage, and you can breathe a breath of fresh air again. EdenPureDeals.com, enter code TOD, TODD3. This is Thomas Massey, and he is formulating his thoughts in a way, expressing them in a way I've done for years in relation to Washington, D.C. Maybe that's why I love it so much.
Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here? This is political theater. I'm going to call out both sides right
Praise
here.
God.
It's all posturing. It's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker. We always get a CR in September, and then we get an omnibus. Sometimes there's a twist on that. We might get the omnibus before Christmas, but if we're not good, it comes after Christmas. But that's what's going to happen. And in the meantime, it's political theater. We've got it's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. It's the same plot every fiscal year. What should we be doing? It's already been discussed. We should have done 12 separate bills. We should have done 12 separate bills. But again, whether Democrats are in control or Republicans are in control, we never do the 12 separate bills. Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? It's because Democrats want to grow the welfare state, and Republicans want to grow the military-industrial complex.
And by the way, Democrats are catching on to, wait a minute, we are missing out on some customers in that military-industrial complex. You know what? We could double, triple, quadruple our revenues to ourselves if we got to be pro-war. We should step into that. So Thomas Massey, great statement, but maybe just a little bit behind on that part. Do you see why I love this so much? This would be like you sitting at the Thanksgiving table with the whole family saying, you know what? This is acting. Like, Bob, Carol, you guys hate each other. You've been married for 40 years and you hate each other's guts. Why are you sitting here? Like, And look, are we going to pretend, honestly, that Uncle Dave, dude, you're a raging drunk. We all see you. Like, that's the, what, 8th glass of wine? Why are we pretending? No, Mom. Bob and Carol need to work on this. Look, guys, fix your marriage. We love you. But quit pretending over here. Please stop that. And Uncle Dave, leave here and get help, man. We've been pretending with you for 10 years that you're not, under the boot of this alcohol. You're my uncle, used to throw the football with me. I love you. I mean, maybe that's not the way to approach it. We're pretending we get together once a year. I don't know you guys. I wish I knew you. Cousin Mike, man, you used to babysit me. I never see you anymore. I mean, do you even know where I live? I mean, I know we're at the grandma's house, but do you even know where I live these days? Now, you can do that in a loving way. I think Thomas Massey's doing it in a loving way. But the fakery affects all of us. Like, Uncle Dave, your kids drink. They're my age, dude. And they're your little boy and little girl, but they're my age, and now they're drunks. Massey continues.
And we're eventually going to get together, and they're both going to go up. I guarantee it. And both parties are just fine letting the bureaucrats do their thing, which should be our thing, according to Article 1, Section 8.
Biggest mistake and smartest fake mistake Congress ever made. So they can have time to fundraise, and they can have time to line their political coffers. They turn things over to the bureaucrats. Bureaucrats now make law. And the way this is all reversed is if a bureaucratic agency creates a diktat, unless Congress challenges it, I think it's in 90 days. Now think of this. Non-elected people say, hey, let's make a new law. You know what? Let's make a law. Cousin Dave can't come when he's drunk. Let's make a new law. So let's just write it out, and we'll sit it here, and the elected representatives, if they want to challenge our power, they have 90 days. You know who does that? Insurance companies. You have 90 days to challenge or denial of your claim. Medishare just did this to me. With my shoulder surgery, beginning of the year. End of last year. Medishare just came along and said, yeah, we know this was a long time ago, but we've decided no. That's a pre-existing condition. It is? Because I went a year between MRIs. It doesn't seem like a pre-existing condition. Seems like it was a new condition. In fact, when my surgeon said, dude, you actually need surgery now, that seemed a lot like a new condition. And then they said to me, you have 90 days to appeal. And here's the 3 ways you can appeal. These are the only things you can appeal on, period, because we make the rules. But we're Medishare. We're a Christian healthcare insurance service. We're Christians sharing healthcare costs. Got it. Well, I signed up. I pay them. I play by their rules. The bureaucrats are treating us this way. When they treat Congress this way, they're treating us this way. We made a diktat. You might be able to challenge it, but you only have 90 days. I think it's 90 days. Massey continues in his discussion.
Constitution. We are empowered with these things. Most important of the things we do is the funding, and that's the big lever we have. I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over-prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting common citizens at the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting plant vaccine or transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship. The censorship industrial complex of which the NSF is part of. Automobile kill switch at the DOT. Now, these are all things I think most Democrats are just fine with this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things.
At least pretend to be. Another metaphor. This is just trading out of your lunch boxes. or your lunch bag when you were a kid. I don't know if you ever carried school lunches, but you go to school. My mom gave us homemade treats. And every single time we had lunch, she made sure there was something that would classify as a treat, a brownie, a cookie, but it was always something she made so she could control the ingredients. Whereas our friends, well, they had Twinkies and they had Hostess fruit pies, which are neither fruit nor pies. They had candy bars, etc. Now, part of this was that they were from far wealthier families and could afford it. My mom couldn't afford it. So you'd sit and you'd trade. And I remember that 2 of my mom's homemade, delicious, by the way, chocolate chip cookies, they could get me a Twinkie. And I always felt like a jerk when I did that. In fact, I would eat the Twinkie and think, that's gross in comparison to mom's cookies. But I was a kid, 3rd grade, trying to fit in. Oh, Twinkies are good. In Washington, D.C., understand this. Democrats put things out there like kill switches and chemically, surgically mutilated kids. They toss that all out there. Part of it are things they want, but what they want most of all is to please their customers. So they have a bottom line like any business. We said, you know what, Planned Parenthood said they need these outcomes. They're willing to pay this much money to get these outcomes. The unions need this. Big business needs this many illegal immigrants who are being given this much in benefits so that they can work for 40% less. These are the revenue targets. This is what we need to hit for our clientele. So let's toss some things out there. And we know they're going to get settled. It's like a contract negotiation. Sometimes when you're negotiating a big contract, you'll toss something out there that's meant to be offensive so that the party with which you're negotiating come on, we're not giving you that. Oh, no, this kills the deal. No, I have to have this. No brown M&Ms. We're freaking Van Halen over here. No brown M&Ms. And the company you're negotiating with says, we can't do that. Oh, you know what? If we give this up, well, then we're going to need these following concessions. It's theater. So he's right when he says Republicans could at least pretend to care about these things. Back to Thomas Massey.
But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed.
There it is.
That is the tool that we have, is the funding. Why are we funding things we don't like? We don't have to. Well, it's because we're addicted to spending.
There it is. We're addicted to spending, and that's our business model. Remember, the business model of Washington, D.C. is this. If they want more money, they take it. It's a fantastic business model. And they do this in closed rooms. There are places, there's the Republican Club and the Democrat Club, I forget the name of it's a Capitol Hill Club. It is actually attached to the Republican National Committee, and there's a bridge. You can go from inside the committee into the Capitol Hill Club. I think it's the 2nd or 3rd floor. You take the elevator up, you walk across the bridge, you go down. That way all the filthy, stinking citizens don't see you and the media. Then there's places where Republicans and Democrats meet together. And in closed doors, they whisper things in the dark. Things that are never to our benefit, that are always to theirs. And remember this. If you are a denizen of Washington, D.C., one of the many Hill staffers who watches and or listens to this program, remember this. Everything whispered in the dark will one day be shouted from the rooftops. God sees every single underhanded, lying, duplicitous, harmful, ungodly trade you're making. So we may not get justice in this lifetime, but justice has been had unless you repent. And yeah, I can honestly pray that you do repent.